Okay, so here in the U.S., the IRS, they just came out with their final regulations in July. And so that's making a lot of companies, a lot of individuals very upset. Um, before, you have not received 1099s from a lot of these exchanges, leaving a lot of you guys to be responsible for your tax situation. Most people, as Tiffany had said, we're looking at it like this is technology. The government didn't create Bitcoin, so I can't be taxed on it. And they've been building up cases for people for years. And so now they've got a lot of these cases, they've got a lot built up. And so now they're in the proving section. And so next year, I would expect you guys to receive 1099 DAs meaning digital assets for your 1099s. Now, here's the tricky piece that should, alert you guys, is that if you have not kept track of your cost basis, meaning the amount that you bought it for, plus the amount that it costs for your fees to transfer so that you can hold on to it, they're going to assume your cost basis at zero. So picture you buy $100 worth of Bitcoin, it goes up to $300. Typically, you'd have a $200, capital gain. But if you don't actually know your cost basis, they're going to say you're taxed at 300. And this creates enormous issues for people who are moving from a centralized location where they bought it to maybe a DeFi to another centralized platform. And so when we look at these new rules, if you are moving from one exchange to another, that's now a taxable event. Never before. And they're doing that to make it easier for you, but just because the taxes are becoming easier, that means they're actually becoming to less of your benefit. Because up until this point, there was a lot of flexibility with your taxes, but it was difficult to do. Now it's becoming easier, but it's not in your favor. And so a lot of my clients are moving overseas because they're saying, hey, if I live outside the country for a while, I could take the foreign income exclusion, which is your first 100,000 you make overseas, like 125,000, you don't have to pay taxes on. And if you go to a place like El Salvador where there's no taxes on tech innovations such as Bitcoin, there's no taxes. So a lot of my clients are moving overseas to either Puerto Rico, to El Salvador, and a couple have looked at a couple African countries or Asian countries.